Welcome to the Learneezee Cast. I'm Rico Lazo, and as always, joined by my co-host, the insightful Patrick Bastien. Today, we're diving into a whole new perspective with Cecilia, an organizational psychologist whose approach blends global studies, a passion for yoga, and a deep understanding of how our minds and bodies shape who we are. How are you, Cecilia?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. Very good.
Great. Thanks for coming on. And Patrick, how are you?
Pretty good, Rico. Yeah. How are you
Great.
doing, by the way?
Doing very well. Good to be here with you both. So the first question I always love to ask guests is, where are you originally from and what languages do you speak, Cecilia?
I'm originally from Italy. I'm back in Italy now. I've left the country when I was 16 and lived abroad until 2 years ago. And now I'm back in Italy. And my languages are English, Italian, and Spanish. I've also lived in the Netherlands, so I speak very basic Dutch.
Great, great. I know it's not easy to pick up Dutch living in the Netherlands. They speak such
No,
perfect English. They're not necessarily
exactly.
as open to helping foreigners learn Dutch.
Yeah,
And
it's the opposite in Italy. So they will force you to speak Italian.
oh wow, okay, wow, that's interesting. Is that what attracted you to traveling abroad? That you would kind of broaden your horizons? Yeah, yeah. What did attract you to studying abroad?
Yeah, I was very young when I moved abroad. It was initially for an exchange year with high school, so just those typical exchange years. And since then, I didn't want to come back to normal life again, and I just wanted to push the boundary further and further.
Understood.
And uh, and I think I'm just a very curious person in general. So I'm always interested in new things, new people, new cultures.
You mentioned that you first moved abroad at 16. How many different countries have you traveled to and or lived in?
Yeah, initially 1 year in the US, in Virginia. And then from there, I went to Spain to graduate. My bachelor was in psychology in a small university called IE, which is actually a business school, a very famous business school in Madrid, but it also had a program in psychology. There was Spain for 4 years, and then I moved to Turkey for an exchange semester, and then the Netherlands for 5 years.
Well, that's quite the travel that you've done. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it was very exciting.
How did you end up deciding to go to Turkey? Was it just the only option on the list, or
No, no, there were many options. Actually, my second option was the UK because it has very good universities. But I wanted to do something out of the ordinary, I guess,
oh,
something
interesting.
that I couldn't have done easily after university. And I was very curious about the culture in Turkey. And yeah, I thought it was just like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Because yeah, it's always like the off the beaten path locations if you're really an explorer that attracts
Yeah.
you and not necessarily what everybody else has done, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wanted to do something completely different. And it was yeah, it was quite good. I remember like some things really shocked me about the culture, but I think that's what I was looking for. So yeah, it was good. And you guys, you mentioned Patrick, you live in Germany, and Eureka in Colombia.
Yeah, I've always had a passion for foreign languages and travel. I've had the opportunity to live in mostly Latin America, in Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, and Puerto Rico. And I spent the year that I spent in the Netherlands. And I've known Patrick for a long time. We both lived together in New York City
Yeah,
many moons ago. I won't say how long ago,
it's not
but
too bad. It's not that, but it's 2 decades at least. So
And you've
yeah,
kept in touch since.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I always say Rico is like my brother from another mother, you know. So we've known each other longer than I've known some of really good friends, from my childhood that I don't keep in touch with. I've kept in touch with Rico for much longer than that. Yeah, and he's always been him and his brother have always been willing to travel with me to crazy places. And the first place we ever traveled to together was Colombia, and yeah, and that Rico and Antonio loved it so much that you know they ended up going back multiple times, and now they live there.
So, Cecilia, I was curious, where was the start for you in your professional career? Maybe walk us through some of your professional experience.
Yeah, so the start was very early because my university asked us to do an internship every year. So since the first year, so every summer I was doing an internship, and this is starting like really from the beginning. So I won't go into details, but I started working in psychiatric clinics, in HR departments of big companies. Then I remember for the internship for my master's in the Netherlands, I was doing recruitment in a software company.
Oh, interesting.
Then I moved on to a yoga studio. I was doing community affairs. So I was hiring and managing the people of the yoga studio. And then from the yoga studio, I went into onboarding. I did like really a lot of jobs, is what they say about your 20s, I guess,
Yeah,
that you really need to try everything before you know what's your calling, I guess.
understood. And how did your experience? Okay, your educational experience is in psychology, and you applied it to these
Yeah.
different jobs. Where did you find it to be most useful? Just curious.
Yeah.
Or was it just always in the background? Kind of helping you out.
Yeah. Yeah, basically my major was in organizational psychology. So with all these jobs, recruitment, HR, then I moved on to working for Patagonia, which was actually a dream of mine because I also support environmental causes. So I was combining both worlds for me at that time. I was combining the passion for the environment, protecting nature, and organizational psychology. I was doing everything about administration, HR, recruitment, and then I found out that yes, it was my dream company, but it wasn't my dream job
Oh, interesting.
because I'm just not very detail oriented. I'm more of a yeah, I don't know how to say. I'm more of like a felt sense person, so I really like to feel things through and to go deeper with people. And HR for me was too I don't know how to say, like dry. Yeah,
Understood. Understood. Okay. It's so too. Yeah, I can understand what you're trying to say. It was too cookie cutter. It's just too
yeah,
standard. Vanilla kind of. Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
couldn't apply my real personality, like who I really am, and I wanted really to find a job, to create a job, and so I ended up creating it. But to create a job that where I could be myself 100%.
Understood. Authenticity was important to
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah.
That's very powerful, Cecilia. I hope you can maybe delve into that a little bit. So how is it that you were able to sort of create the reality that you actually wanted versus staying stuck in a position that wasn't more fulfilling for you?
It wasn't a linear path. It wasn't like I had the answer from one day to the other. I actually took a gap year and I went and volunteered and stayed at a yoga retreat center in Spain. And there I was doing all kinds of soul searching. I worked with kids, but at the same time, I taught meditations. I took yoga philosophy courses. I, yeah, I dove into really a lot of things personally and also with the community that I was living with. And I had this idea that was combining all of my passions into one therapy offering. And so I created this website that's called The Integrated Therapies. And then slowly, I understood while I was moving to Turin that actually I had a very different asset from all the psychologists here in Turin, which was my background, my background with living in different countries, speaking English first of all fluently. And I realized that there were a lot of people here in Turin that were internationals that didn't know who to speak to, that were completely lost about their move to Turin. And so I started offering my services to them. And so integrated therapies became more of counseling for expats. But it's just me. So
So you're giving a
it's who I
piece of
am.
yourself,
Yeah.
like that. The whole connection to authenticity comes out from that point of view.
Yeah, for sure. Like as a therapist, as a psychologist, a counselor, whatever term we want to use. But what I do is really offering or putting my body as a resonance machine, basically. And so I'm there fully 100% with my whole senses, my whole emotions, my whole self, and I'm in relation with this person. So what I'm offering is really an authentic relationship, like you said, Patrick. Like authenticity is really what I try to do and who I try to be, like in session with my clients.
And I'm curious, can you describe a particularly rewarding experience you've had working with an expat client? You mentioned that that's kind of who you cater to in some ways, but do you
Yeah.
have one experience you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have many, but the first that comes to mind is this girl that I just started working with, actually. And I think in the first session, it was a very powerful first session. Sometimes people take time to warm up to me, to be able to trust me and to go deeper. And sometimes the first session is like, boom, it's like really they needed to do this, like they've been waiting for a long time. And we can go directly to their unconscious, basically speaking to their unconscious.
Wow, that's respect.
And and I was just with her the whole time. And she came in with a problem that regarded her crush or the boy that she wanted to date. And slowly, I was basically encoding or reading the sentences that were stuck in her unconscious somehow. Like it sounds very weird when I say it like this, but when I'm in therapy, when I'm in session with someone and someone is telling me about their experience, I can just say, for example, okay, so you're never enough. Can you say you're never enough? And she says, I'm never enough. And with that experience of saying that, she, first of all, she feels an emotion very strongly, and then she can remember where that emotion comes from. And so we went back to her parents, how they never took responsibility for her, how she is still trying to take responsibility for their actions. And basically, it was just a very cathartic moment that she had never came across before. Yeah, and there have been other sessions like this, and it's not all the sessions because both therapist and client need to be on the same page and very charged somehow. But when it happens, it's really magical. It's really beautiful.
Wow, that's great. And I guess we're all kind of talking around, this type of therapy that you practice. Do you want to go more, a little bit deeper into explaining this kind of counseling that you do? It's called Gestalt counseling. Is that
Yeah.
possible if we, give us a little bit of a description of it
Yeah.
and for our audience and so on?
Yeah, of course. I'm always a bit unsure how to describe Gestalt when people ask me, because the school where I studied Gestalt, and it was a 4-year course, is very experiential. So
Okay.
they never told us what Gestalt is, but we practiced it.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
so it's really the opposite. Like they start with the experience, and then you can read books about it if you want, if you're curious. So what I know about Gestalt is really what I experienced and how I've experienced it. Um, I think the baseline is what is happening now. What is happening now to you as we speak? How is your body? How is your emotion? Are you in contact with what's happening? Are you aware that there are two people listening right now, that I'm speaking to two people, that I'm here? So it's a lot about awareness and being in the present. And I think those are concepts that we hear like so often nowadays.
Yes. Staying in the moment.
Yeah, being in the moment, exactly. And that's why I was saying that when I'm in session with clients, I offer myself as a resonance machine, because I'm really basically meditating the whole time and understanding what is going on with me in the first place. And then I can give it back to them. So the first principle is awareness, being in the here and the now. And then with that, with being in the here and the now, you can take responsibility also for your decisions. And responsibility is another huge pillar of Gestalt, is how are you creating your suffering? How are you creating the world that you live in? Sometimes people come with a problem, but really the problem is serving them, is a pillar to their lives. Otherwise, like they would crumble, they would fall apart. So we first need to understand how is that aspect of their lives benefiting them. What are they taking from it? And then they can take responsibility for a different choice.
And are you working almost exclusively with expats?
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious about the Gestalt counseling. How does that benefit the expats as they're dealing with these cultural adjustments? Is there any particular tie in there?
Yeah, I think one of the ways they complement each other is that Gestalt bases itself on the principle that the therapist is not the expert, the client is the expert. And this is very fundamental in dealing with expats, because I don't have an experience of all the different cultures that people are coming from. But I am very curious. I don't come with teachings. I come with curiosity. And this is a principle of Gestalt, is always being curious about what the person is bringing. And this is also who I am. And that's why it fits very well with who I am. And also there is a saying that goes, there are as many forms of Gestalt as there are therapists,
Oh,
Gestalt
interesting.
therapists, because each one does it like how they are.
Okay, okay. So it's just a reflection of the therapist as well. Yeah. So there's no one method to Gestalt. Okay.
Exactly. And that's why it's also, for me, it's so useful to incorporate, first of all, my experience with yoga, with somatic exercises. I also did some courses in massage, which I never apply. I never apply massage with my clients. But I know I know some basic anatomy, and sometimes we we play, we do experiences, and it's always co-created. It's never something that I say, okay, now we do this, but it's always like Okay, how about like I'm imagining maybe putting an empty chair and imagining that your dad is there so you can speak to him. What do you think about that? Oh no, I don't like a chair. I'd like it more to be something else. Okay, we co-create it.
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
never something that I impose.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so in doing that, I can also use and draw from all of my experience, basically.
Awesome. Now, you said you recently moved to Turin, yeah? Is it something where are you going to expand your practice in Turin and outwards from there, or are you going to stay focused on the city itself as your major hub?
Yeah, it's a good question because as an expat and as a person who always likes to move and to travel, it's never sure what the future
Yeah, exactly.
holds and where you will be in the future. For now, I'm here.
Okay.
I really like it here. I really love my studio. I love the mountains. I love the territory.
Yes.
I do have some online clients that do not live in Italy. And that's because of Via Via. It's because of people introducing me to other people,
Mhm.
or people that were living in Turin and then they moved abroad. So I have people from different countries, but I receive only in my studio in Turin for now.
Okay, understood.
You mentioned that you have done yoga and have taken classes, but does yoga play a role in your practice or just the philosophy you use in your counseling?
Yeah, it plays a huge role, not directly, but for what I was saying before, the art of being present and listening to what's happening to me as a therapist, it plays a huge role. I've done some Vipassana retreats, maybe some people are familiar with that, and I think they were really crucial in, first of all, in humbling me, in giving me trust in the process. Sometimes, as a therapist, like you're as lost as the person is. You just need to be comfortable in being lost. You just need to be comfortable in being scared, in being angry, in being sad. You just need to know that those are things that you can feel. And with that, yoga in not the vinyasa yoga or the power yoga, but the vipassana, the meditation, all of these practices really helped.
Just a follow up, I've heard of Vipassana. I've never actually participated in that. Can you educate our audience sort of what it is and how it's
Yeah,
affected you?
yeah, it was a great experience when I first did it. And I had no idea what I was going into because I didn't read the program. I was just like, okay, like they accepted me, let's go. I knew when it began and when it ended, and I didn't know what was happening in between. And probably it was good because I wouldn't have gone otherwise.
Oh, interesting.
It was very intense. So usually it's 10 days of waking up at 4 a.m. and meditating 9 hours throughout the day until 9 p.m. every day for 10 days. But not only. So you, of course, don't have phones. You cannot speak to each other, nor with words or with eye contact or with gestures. Like you just can't have any communication. You can walk, but very little in specific areas. They give you 2 meals a day. and and I think that, yeah, the most challenging part is that when you meditate, you can't move. I mean, you can, but the instructions are from Goenka, from the founder of Vipassana, and the instructions are to not move. So for an hour or maybe 2 hours straight, you just sit down, you choose a position, and then you don't move. from there for 2 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, my body was screaming, like my brain was burning itself, exploding. I don't know what was happening, because at some point your whole body hurts, like you just need to move, but you can't. So yeah, that allows you to go deeper than the pain and to realize how many sensations you can feel, to a very, very minuscule element. Like you can really get to experience your cells duplicating. I don't know, but it feels like you can feel maybe a million things more than what you feel normally. So that has really helped me in being able to be present with my clients.
Very interesting. I'm actually going through this communication coaching program, and the coach expressed his thoughts on the program, and he said that he started to see patterns emerge in the types of thoughts that he would have. In the morning, he had certain types of beliefs or thoughts that would come into his mind. Then in the afternoon, it was a different sort of set of like patterns, if you will. He had this like patterns recognition
Wow.
he started to see over time. But he said it was the best thing he's ever done, one of the most challenging things he's ever done. So I can certainly understand
Yeah.
saying what you're saying in terms of just how your body reacted. It's just the complete opposite of what we deal with and pretty
Yeah.
much everyday basis. We're overstimulated and we're constantly in contact with people. So to completely shut yourself
Exactly.
off from that must be quite the challenge.
Yeah, exactly. I think after the 6th day, my brain started generating new thoughts. For 6 days, it was just like going over thoughts that needed to recycle themselves and like things that I left at home. So it's just like this cloud of thoughts that go through your mind that you don't really know what to do with. And many times they're not even serving you. It's just an automation. It's just a habit.
Habit. Oh, wow. So it's something that helps you break a particular habit, like all this rumination that you go through on your daily basis. You were able to let it go.
What happens is that when you're present, you break that pattern. And that pattern in psychology is called neurosis. It's the neurotic thinking that we all do, that we all have. But when you speak about patterns, Rico, that's what we call neurosis, because you're no matter what the environment is giving you, your response is always the same, and it's not very functional many times. So being able to be present with the novelty of the experience, how this experience is a little different from all the experiences I've had before. So instead of reacting automatically and going into my neurosis, I can be present with my sensations, get curious, and maybe experience something new.
That's interesting. And I don't want to speak on behalf of my coach because I don't know. He just said it impacted him in a great way. So I don't know how
Yeah,
he dealt with these patterns. And I mean, it sounds like he was able to really gain a lot of insight about himself and grow as a person.
nice. Yeah. I don't know of anyone that has gone to Vipassana and not exited a different person.
But what was interesting for me is that this was not something that you were actually paying for, but
No.
you had to be chosen from a group to do it. Is that how you explained that, or is it a
No,
little bit?
sorry. No, the application is just for come first serve.
Okay, first come, first serve. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, that's how I got picked, but there was no merit in that.
okay. Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Now let's see. Let's look ahead a little bit. We're headed to a point of where we want to talk about what your plans are for your program. Like you said, you're an explorer, but you're based in Turin. Do you have any plans to, you know, have an expat workshop sometime in Turin or anything like a group coaching session?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So you have some plans there. Yeah.
I have some desires, things that excite me right now, but they're not definite plans. But for sure, because I'm still very busy at the school right now, I'm also doing other things at the school. So for sure, I would really like to do group sessions. Gestalt it works really well with groups. And I think that it would really be beneficial for expats because many of them, of course, they feel lonely. So I think it would be really beneficial. I would like to do some group sessions for sure.
Do you tend to sort of seek out certain types of people that to serve? I mean, are maybe like a, I don't want to use a very corporate term, the ideal customer profile, but is there sort of a persona? What was an archetype? Is there an archetype, if you will, of the people you have found the alignment, if you will?
Slowly, I'm starting to, when I do the intro calls, I really try to bring myself so that the right people will come to me. Because some people can also come with the wrong intentions. They, I don't know, they want you to tell them what to do, or they expect an answer many times. They don't know that they need to put the work in. So slowly, I think we align with people, and the ones who stay and do like a really in-depth process with me are the ones who are willing to go deep and to discover themselves more and more. It's not easy. I don't think it's easy, especially to be in relationship with a therapist in this sense with me, because many times also when we have problems, when we don't like something, we don't like confrontation, the first thing we do is we go to the next one. We look for something else, for someone else. But the real change happens when you try to confront the person that you have in front, or when you co-create with them. When this relationship starts to happen, then you know that therapy is really working, because it's not anymore something that they think therapy is, but it's something where they contribute, and we can co-create it in the same way as I said. You can co-create an experience. You can also co-create the entire therapeutic process. So yeah, those people will stay.
Very interesting. That was not a response I was expecting, but I really enjoy your whole approach and your, I think you're clearly a deep thinker and you're trying to find ways to connect with people on a deep level. And that sort
Yeah.
of seems to supersede any sort of demographic, if you will, that you would say, oh yeah, I work with women or men or
No.
professionals or whatever. It's much broader, but more, in many ways, more specific on a deeper level.
Yeah, and I think that it's not only beneficial for me, of course, to work with people that I like and enjoy working with, but it's beneficial for them, for us in general, when we can meet there in that really deep, vulnerable, authentic spot. It's very relieving. It's an experience of nourishment. And that's the experience that we look for, basically.
All right. So, yeah, I think we're at the end of our interview. So, Cecilia, how can our audience get in touch with you if they would like to have a session, to see if, there's a connection there as a therapist to, client?
Yeah, I have a website that's theintegratedtherapies.com, and you can find a contact form there, or directly a booking calendar, and you can directly book an intro call with me, and that would be just for free. It's usually 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just to see if we're aligned. and then we can start.
And just the last thing I would offer is just an opportunity for you to speak directly to any prospective person or client, whatever term you like. Is there anything that you would like to say that you could use as a way to, I don't want to say promote or market yourself as much as just connect with deeply with? Is there anything you would like to say?
Yeah, I fell in love with Gestalt. I fell in love with the method, if we want, with the experience, with how it changed my life, how I can see everything in a different perspective, and I think it's a very enriching experience for everyone. And I don't know. I'm here. I don't want to convince anyone because it's really important that the person, like I said, takes responsibility and um, and takes the first step. But I'm here, and I'm very happy to receive anyone.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. This is a very,
Yeah.
very interesting conversation with you. I really respect your desire to find your calling, to have traveled widely, to have visited many countries and experienced many things. I think that shows a real curiosity and a deep thinker approach to living life, and your desire to connect deeply was just really eye-opening and very interesting to have you on the show. So thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Thank you, guys. It was really nice speaking to you.
Same here. Thank you again, Cecilia. Yeah, it was really nice to talk to you and learn. I learned a lot about Gestalt and
Yeah, there's
yoga.
so much to learn,
Yeah,
but
yeah. See,
it's a
that,
start.
yeah, that's great.
Well, thank you so much. Wow, what a great interview, Pat. I always enjoy our interviews. You
Yeah,
never truly know what you're going to get. And to be honest, I was not familiar with Gestalt counseling at all. That was quite interesting insight into that, as well as the Vipassana meditation retreat. I'd heard about that previously. And
haven't heard about how do you say it, Vipassana? I've
I
never
hope
heard
I'm
of it.
pronouncing that correctly. Vipassana, I believe.
Yeah, we'll have to, get Cecilia back so she can help us understand it
Yeah, we'll
better.
put it in the show notes, at least a small
Yeah,
definition there.
yeah. But
But
yeah,
oh,
Gestalt is something that I've heard of because I guess living in Germany helps a little bit with these types of concepts. So I guess the motherland of psychology here, and that was interesting to just to get a really clear description about something that, like she said, no one wants to explain. Like you have to experience it. So it's amazing that we had the opportunity to speak to her and we got a little bit of a you know 101 on Gestalt therapy.
yeah, my interest was piqued. I'll have to do some more research. And what struck me more than anything was just her calmness. She had this serene sort of presence that didn't seem to rush. She seemed to really take her time and to be very present. I think she clearly, I think, has really learned how to just be in the moment. And I
Yes.
think that was something that's really a nice reminder for anybody in the hectic nature of society that we live in 2024, with all these technological advancements that make us more connected supposedly than ever. Maybe that's a good segue, Pat, to our segment of what's on
Yeah,
your mind.
yeah. I mean, yeah, segueing into that, yeah, I'm definitely thinking about maybe I'm over connected as well. And I really appreciated Cecilia's point of view of just, trying to get in touch with every cell in your body. But outside of that topic, getting in touch with everyone else in the world, we talk about the web. And I'm happy to say that our team at Learneezee has come up with a very nice blog that's going to focus on the future of the web. We're calling it the Web 3.0 blog. We put out the first article a few weeks ago, and it on LinkedIn. It got a lot of impressions, but we're kind of like putting it out there very silently. But you'll meet over time through the podcast and through maybe some self-study courses, our um, brains, our experts around this envisioning of a more egalitarian future of the internet, and we'll be covering topics like blockchain and AI and Internet of Things. All of these things are kind of connected to each other, and we can either go in a direction of the mega monopolies, or we could go into a more open, egalitarian internet that all of us benefit from. So that's what we're going to be having through this blog, a conversation with, the audience out there about the future of the internet. Yeah.
And I know people have heard of AI, obviously, with ChatGPT debuting in 2022, OpenAI. But for people who maybe are not familiar with, the Internet 3.0 or blockchain or the Internet of Things, can you explain that to me like I'm five, so to help our audience
Oh,
understand those two
Rico.
things?
Let's put it this way. Web 1.0 is basically email, right? You just send messages back and forth. And that was the beginning of the internet, just for texting one another. There was no video, very few images, and so on. So that was Web 1.0 as we see it defined in our explanation of it. Web 2.0 is basically the social media generation of the internet, right? Where we're interacting with pictures and video and actually communicating back and forth, sometimes in real time, like we're doing on video right now, right? And Web 3.0 is the internet taken to the next level of really interacting with the real world and still connected to the web as well. So you're speaking about um, being able to use your, you know, toaster and know exactly, the right temperature to turn on your toaster because it's connected to the internet that tells you, hey, Patrick, to get the perfect piece of toast, you'll have to put your toaster at this temperature, something like that, right?
Very insightful. I think that for me, the artificial intelligence piece of the three that you talked about between the Internet of Things, blockchain, and AI, I think AI is the one thing that I understand. And like you were saying regarding AI with these large language models like ChatGPT that
Hmm.
released voice back in November of last year, where you can now literally have a conversation with ChatGPT via the mobile platform. It's really very interesting. And I'm always still very surprised when I ask people if they've interacted with AI and they've not.
Oh,
And just to give
interesting.
you an example, I was speaking earlier about this communication group I've been a part of.
Hmm.
It's really an opportunity to learn how to become a better communicator, whether that's speaking sort of off the cuff, extemporaneously in an impromptu setting,
Hmm.
or giving a more prepared speech. And now we're getting into storytelling. And I've been able to leverage AI to really help me understand frameworks that you can tell stories with.
Hmm.
And I was chatting with a fellow member of this group, and I asked him if he uses AI to help him ideate, brainstorm ideas of what he can speak about. And he said he didn't.
Hmm.
And I was shocked because, again, this is a professional who is college educated. I don't know what sector he works in specifically,
Hmm.
but it's interesting, right? I just sort of assume everybody's using these AI tools, and they're
It's true,
not,
isn't it?
and
Huh?
they're not. And but at the same
Yeah.
time, there's also, I think maybe to a point you were making earlier, is that it's going to impact society on a very very deep level and a very precipitous time frame. I think that the amount of change we've seen in human history, things are just happening so fast. It's so hard. It's so incredibly difficult to be on top of everything, and the rate at which things change is incredibly fast.
And I think there are folks that are deciding not to jump on, you know, the early adopter train, and that's wonderful because sometimes it's not for everyone.
Mhm.
You have to go through and jump through a lot of hoops sometimes to get something like ChatGPT to give you a good result in certain situations. But the fact that it's so good already is for me personally scary. And then those who are not using it yet, somehow I think they'll be forced to use it because that's unfortunately how these technologies function, right? When you see the huge amount of improvement that you'll get in productivity, there then becomes no choice. Then you have to switch.
I think there's sort of two things that I would respond with. I think one, there is still value in the analog world, whether
Hmm.
that's things like music, playing an acoustic guitar. I think that is completely valid. Singing without any kind of voice enhancement,
Auto tuning, yes.
auto tuning,
Yes,
photography that's not digital photography.
Hmm.
right? Any sort of antiquated, if you will, technology. I think there's real value in that.
Hmm.
But by the same token, I think it's sort of this AI paradox. This technology that's going to displace jobs might very well be the same technology that helps create jobs or trains people for the new future of work. So we'll see. The verdict is
We
out.
will see, and that's the point of the Web 3.0 blog, and I think it's also the point of your communication and AI community.
I would just like to add that I do think that to your earlier point about interacting with these technologies via voice
Mhm.
is already happening, and I think it's
Yes.
only going to continue to happen at a more and sort of quicker rate, as well as just being more ubiquitous. And I think it really behooves us that the one thing that we can do as people
Hmm.
is really become the best communicators we can be, both orally and written language. I think is a great way for us to stay connected with one
Yes.
another as people,
Hmm.
and at the same time interact with this technology that's becoming ever present in our lives. I think that's probably a good time to
Hmm.
bring this show to an end. Episode number 25.
Yep.
So 25 episodes in. And
Wow.
each time we do one of these, it's always a sense of accomplishment. I think, right, the content creator who didn't know it, the content creators who didn't know it, before the content creator moniker became in vogue, we've
Yeah.
been doing this podcast for about 4 years now. So it's really
Yeah.
great to see. If we look back, we'll have to do an episode, maybe just the two of us looking back on all
Yeah.
the things
Yeah.
we've
Exactly.
covered
That would be great.
thus
Yeah.
far, from the COVID pandemic to the different elections to all sorts of everything in between. But
Yeah.
just
Yep.
another great show, Pat. I've really
Yeah.
enjoyed seeing you once again, and having Cecilia as a guest was really a special treat.
Yes. Same here, Rico. So let's let our audience go, and yeah, keep learning easy.
Keep learning easy. Until next time.